So I bought 17 acres of land instead of buying a normal house. And as you can see behind me, I've actually managed to get planning permission to build a house on my land now too. I did a little video the other day on the 3 basic ways you can sort of do the same, but today I'm going to talk about the legitimate way, the proper way on how to get permission for a house on your own land. As yeah, I had quite a lot of questions come back from that video regarding planning permission, etc. Some people think a couple of things I said were a bit vague, so we'll go over in more detail. So, the basics are, you need 12.5 acres of land to start with. Or if you haven't got 12 acres, or you can't quite afford 12 acres, you've always got the other option of renting the other amount you need to get up to that 12.5 acre boundary, which is classed as like one holding, so to speak, which then gives you agricultural rights. Now, if you have those rights, that gives you all sorts of permissions to build things. You just have to do what's called a pre-development application notice instead of a full planning application. So it makes it a hell of a lot easier. Yeah, quite a few comments in the other video about people who've got a couple of acres and haven't had a chance off their council of getting things through, equestrian stuff, etc. And then alongside having agricultural rights, you're going to need to have some sort of agricultural based venture. So, i.e. you're going to need to have a small chicken farm, small pig farm, market garden, some sort of agricultural business. And then you can build things like this. Well, this is just the end of the barn at the minute, but we've got permission for a big barn here. We've got a livestock house down the bottom, and then yeah, finally get permission for a house too, doing it like that. So how does it actually boil down to you getting a house or a dwelling on the farm? And it's pretty much down to man hours, as the man sees it. Now, if you can provide the right amount of evidence, business plan, etc., that you're going to need that amount of man hours to operate your farm business successfully, then that'll give you permission for a temporary dwelling, so static caravan, normal caravan, yurt, tent, whatever you fancy. More than likely going to want to go a bit more in depth with it and build the backlog of evidence, so to speak, so you can eventually, when your business then hits certain other brackets they put in place, build a proper brick and mortar house. And that ceiling they sort of put in to be able to apply for an actual farm cottage, etc., it's £18,000 you've got to pay yourself to run the farm, and then the farm on top of that has got to make £25,000 profit. So not undoable amounts, even with small venture stuff on the farm. Now, how I got permission for my stuff, etc., was I had a pre-existing agricultural business before I even bought the land. So I think it was 6 years or so I was running my little small farm on rented land previous to buying this place, and then that automatically basically gave me the need to put up my barns, etc., and also meant it was pretty easy to demonstrate a need to live here because it was already at the sort of the bracket of man hours required without even expanding the farming business, which was the whole point of buying this land, which was to grow the business. So pretty much they had no choice almost, because I was ticking all the boxes that need to be ticked to be able to do this sort of thing, so they couldn't really say no in the end. They tried to put in a few hurdles, but yeah, I'm ticking the right boxes, so in the end the law was on my side for once. Can you believe it? And I would also recommend getting an actual planning consultant involved from your local area who deals with other farms and stuff, because they'll know the people at the council. They'll make the whole process a lot easier because, let's face it, the whole world's a bit of a boys' club, isn't it? It's all about who you know. So if they know people on the council, they can talk to them in person and make them understand your situation a bit better, rather than just being like Joe Bloggs wants to stick a caravan on a piece of land over there and they know nothing about you, etc. And then also, like I say, the proper planning people know what they're talking about, so they're going to be able to give you advice on what you will actually be able to build with your current scenario or your actual future business plan. So to build your house on some off-grid land legitimately, then just run over it one more time. You need 12.5 acres of land. You've got to have a business that warrants the need for those structures, so you've got to have an agricultural based business. And then lastly, you've got to basically prove that it's going to be scalable. You've got to have a decent business plan. You've got to show the man that you know what you're doing, so to speak, on paper anyway. And then to build an actual brick solid home that will be worth money in the future, you've got to demonstrate to them again that you know what you're doing by providing business evidence, so company's house evidence of how well your farm does and that it's viable for the future to provide an income for you and for you to keep developing the farm with the profits from the business. And as always then, if you've got any questions, just drop them in the comment box below. I will try and do my best to get back to you and answer them. And I'm going to be doing a lot of live streams this week whilst I'm building bits of the house, mostly electrical work, so don't forget to join in.